Thanks for tuning into Know Wine in No Time. I'm your host Dave, and today we're going to talk about a French wine growing region called Gaillac. And remember, to the French, the place is the most important thing, and we often see it written on wine labels, not necessarily the varietals, but the place that wine emanates from. So where exactly is Gaillac? Gaillac is in southwest France, and it's just south of Bordeaux and just northeast of a city called Toulouse. There's a waterway that cuts right through the center of Gaillac, and that's called the Tarn River. And the vineyards are planted on the slopes of the Tarn. So we often talk about left bank and right bank vineyards. So what perspective do we have when we talk about left bank and right bank? If we were standing in the river, looking downstream as the water flows, we have a left bank and we have a right bank. So on the left bank of the Tarn, we have gravelly, pebbly soil, and in those areas we grow a very muscular, powerful type of red wine grape. If we go on to the right bank, we have limestone and clay in that area, and it produces a very polished, elegant, and softer type of red wine. Now, interestingly enough, in Gaillac, this is an area that really is true to its ancient varietal roots. And most of the grapes that are used to produce wines in these areas are ones you've never heard of before. By law, a Gaillac wine must be at least 60% Syrah, pretty common household name, also a grape by the name of Duras, and another one by the name of Fer Servadou. So I picked this wine because it's a true reflection of what Gaillac has to offer. This wine comes to us from Lionel Osman, and it's 50% Duras and 50% of a grape called Braucol. And what's interesting about Braucol is that's a synonym for Fer Servadou. So it's 50% Duras, 50% Fer Servadou, a really great reflection of grapes that really only grow in this part of France. Now those two grapes are interesting because Duras is a thicker skinned grape. It produces a darker, more tannic wine that has definitely a darker color and a bit of a peppery persona. A lot of people say that it's similar to Syrah. And we look at Fer Servadou, that's a grape that got its name fer, which means iron in French, because its vines are so strong and so hard that they're difficult to cut and prune. They call it the iron grape. And Fer Servadou has a similar flavor profile to Cabernet Franc, so lighter in color and a little bit more vegetal in its persona. So you're probably sitting back thinking, a little bit Syrah, a little bit of Cab Franc, what in the world is this blend going to taste like? So let's go ahead and dive into that. So this Gaillac, as I mentioned, 50% Duras, then 50% Braucol or Fer Servadou. The first thing we're going to do is go ahead and take a look at it. And when we notice that it's a little bit opaque. We can't really see through it, but there are tinges of kind of purplish magenta or ruby around the edges. If we swirl to liberate the aromas, what leaps out of the glass are really dark fruits. We smell things like plums, a little bit of licorice, and also roasted meat bordering on salami. So let's go ahead and taste the wine and see what we can expect. This wine from Lionel Osman starts out very fruity on the front side of the palate. I get everything from, say, a wild black raspberry that's a bit underripe, so a little bit of a tart raspberry, and then those darker fruits like plums come in, and even some real dark black cherry. And then mid-palate, we feel that lift of acidity, and we do get a little bit of a licorice stripe on the back side of the palate. This wine is mildly tannic. So when I say mildly tannic, we often think about what food pairings we would pair this with. This would go with lighter meats. So think things like pork. That would be perfect with a roasted pork. Some really maybe a cheesy type of a chicken dish or a chicken dish that we have more of a creamy sauce, it would be perfect for that, and even some creamy type pastas, or you could just enjoy it just outright. So I'm glad to bring you this Gaillac wine because it definitely is one that's off the beaten path. This vintage on this one is a 2016, so it's aging just about the right period now. This isn't a long-lived wine. It's not one you can keep in your cellar for 20 years, but it's just about perfect in that 4 to 5 year category. So I'm going to go back and enjoy a little bit more of Lionel Osman's Gaillac wine, and I ask that you come back next time because soon you'll know wine in no time.